Welcome to Chicago Jewish Cafe. Today we have an honor to host Dillon Hosier, who is the chairman and probably leading person of an organization called Israeli American Network. What is it? Israeli American Civil Action Network?
Yeah, so it's called ICAN, the Israeli
ICAN.
American Civic Action Network. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And the reason we have invited Dillon, and thankfully he accepted our invitation, is because in Los Angeles, a number of things have taken place. One of them is the declaration by the school board of that city that they condemn anti-Semitism and anti-Israel hate. And my understanding is that Dillon, your organization, took active part in creating this resolution and making it happen. Is it correct, or am I wrong?
Yeah, so we, partially, yes. I mean, I don't want to say that we are the sole creditors for this. There were important individuals, Scott Schmerelson, who is the board member who introduced this. And then also there's a very strong organization within LAUSD of teachers. There's an organization called the Association of Jewish Educators within LAUSD, who really, I give them a lot of credit. I mean, they were the ones who were the tip of the spear on this. From our standpoint as an organization, our goal is to ensure that Israel and Israelis are represented in that. And so we lobbied to ensure that that perspective was included in the resolution. And that was our important position and perspective on the resolution.
Dillon, a resolution of this sort condemning anti-Semitism and anti-Israel hate, to my mind, is quite unusual today or yesterday. I mean, what is the situation that forced the board to actually deal with the issue?
So I think that we are seeing, and if I may, I'd like to kind of take a backwards view. It's not just things that have happened in the past few months or weeks, but this is years in the making. You know, we had the rise of BDS really 10 years ago, where we began to see a real infection of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel hate within our campuses. And unfortunately, in the early days of this movement and this activity, rhetoric and actions that were clearly anti-Semitic were deemed and cloaked in this notion of First Amendment political speech. And especially on campus, you know, where campuses are supposed to be places where you can have free discourse and open debate.
Are we talking about schools or universities?
Started in universities, but now we see it migrating to schools, migrating downward to high schools. But it started, I want to start on campuses, and then you see this progression to different aspects of the education system. And so over time, we have, again, seen this, to me, it's like a cancer, and it has metastasized beyond our university campuses to our high schools, even to middle schools and younger, and then to other parts of society. And I think it has, in a city like Los Angeles, it has boiled over to the point to where we saw the young Jewish men getting beaten in the street, not far from here, by the way. Another Jewish man that same night, which was the end of Shavuot, who was chased by cars, and now, while he was running on foot, and now we see the teachers union in Los Angeles, which is the UTLA, United Teachers of Los Angeles, in May, a subset of this union has proposed to stand with Palestine against Israel. They have proposed urging the US administration to cut aid to Israel. They have begun trying to organize what are called teach-ins, which are anti-Israel groups teaching this kind of rhetoric within our high schools now. And this is happening right now, and this is a major concern. And so it's this, really this, it's hit
Dillon,
this.
I'm sorry, is this group, as I understand, UTLA, are they also active in defending rights of other ethnic groups or religious groups in other countries, or they focus only on Israel?
I don't have a, I know that historically they have commented on other international relations issues. As an organization, they're supposed to be focused, they're a union, they're a teachers union, they're supposed to be focused on the teachers, their workplace, their environments like any other union. So we do believe that this is out of the realm of ordinary, that they should not be dealing with this issue. They're not equipped to deal with this issue. And frankly, they're not educated about the issue. So we do believe it is inappropriate for them to be addressing this issue as an organization, yes.
I understand that Anti-Defamation League raised the issue with this United Teachers of Los Angeles a while back. And did they get any response from them?
I don't know. I've heard that as well. I can't speak for ADL, but I know.
Did your organization raise the issue with them?
We did not. No, we typically, so our organization typically deals with elected officials. So we deal mainly with the school board, with the legislature, and those kinds of organizations. But I do know that other allied organizations have reached out to UTLA. My understanding is there has not been a strong positive response from the union, but I don't want to speak for those other organizations. But my understanding is there's not been a positive engagement.
The reason I'm asking about it is because an individual, Scott Schmerelson, who took an active part in, on your side, as I understand, maybe I'm wrong, in putting forward the initiative for this resolution of the Board of Education, he also is very friendly with this United Teachers Union.
So that's an important, you're touching on an important dynamic to understand. The school board is elected by the people, right? So when I go to vote, I vote the people in. I vote people like Scott Schmerelson and others in. He's not my member, but there are other of his colleagues who are my members who I vote in. So he has direct responsibility to me as an Angelino, as somebody who lives in Los Angeles. The teachers union are elected by the teachers. Their leadership are elected by the teachers, and it's not a public body. But they have collective bargaining power, and they have other powers that they have just by virtue of being a union. And so there's a tension between the two entities. There's a tension between the elected body and the unelected union. So the school board tries to have a positive relationship with the union because they don't want the teachers to go on strike or whatever. But sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and then you have a problem. But I do know that, yes, the school board tries to have a positive working relationship with the union. Yes.
Now, so basically what you are saying is that the school board and teachers union on two different sides of issue of anti-Semitism. Am I correct?
The teachers union would disagree with that perspective. The teachers union has put out a statement saying that only a subset of their members have proposed this anti-Israel motion. The union as a whole doesn't vote until September. So they have not, it is not union policy yet, That being said, it's concerning that there's a subset of the union that is pushing this policy. So it's something to be aware of.
Was this one of the factors that made you and your allies come to Board of Education and ask them to raise their voice on the issue?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And Board of Education, there's 7 members, right?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And they unanimously said that they're against anti-Semitism and against hatred of Israel. And they have actually put forward a number of instructions or recommendations or whatever it is that not only students in schools, but also teachers who teach there will have to learn or attend some classes about anti-Semitism and other things similar to it.
Correct. So the resolution isn't just a symbolic statement. There are 3 concrete orders that are given to the superintendent of LAUSD. As you mentioned, one of them is to update information for teacher, staff, administrators, students, and parents to address and prevent anti-Semitism. That's number 1. Number 2, all public schools within LAUSD, which include the history and science teachers, are to fully implement the existing curriculum regarding the positive contribution of Jewish peoples, and that's in order to reduce anti-Jewish hate. And the third order, and this third order has a couple of pieces to it, all schools are to reaffirm the rights of Jewish students, and it directs students, staff, and families to report acts of anti-Semitism. That's 1. Number 2, the Division of Instruction, Human Relations, and Diversity must establish curriculum, and this is what you mentioned, the Professional Development Working Group to help to lead teachers and administrators with expertise in areas of Jewish history, and to do training, kind of sensitivity training on these issues. And all of this, there's a deadline of 90 days. So the superintendent has to report back within 90 days with an update on these issues. So we'll keep close eye on how this unfolds.
Will those teachers who support BDS, will they also be required to attend these courses?
I don't know exactly how it's going to be implemented, but it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out.
Do you have any initial reaction on the part of the union to this declaration?
Not that I know of, no. I have not seen any reaction from the union. They do have I believe their next meeting is in 2 weeks. They have a leadership meeting in early August, and then the big meeting they have is in September. So we'll see what their reaction is.
What is your feeling about it? I know that you have to feel like you won you have won a battle, but what about the overall situation? Because I don't believe, declaration by Board of Education, will change radically the trend within not only Los Angeles or California, but all over United States toward vilification of Israel. But behind Israel, there's Jews that are being vilified.
Yep.
So in your mind, how significant this declaration is in terms of our fight? I don't even want to say it, against people that want harm us in many ways, including physical.
So I think it's important to understand that when we look at American society, and again, America is a subset of that's a theater of war, so to speak, right? We have Europe, we have other places in the world that are dealing with this in a different way. But in America, if you look at the American attitude towards Israel, you have about 22% who are staunchly with Israel and who will never move away from Israel, and they will fight against anti-Semitism. Then you have about 8 to 10% that are absolutely against Israel and will never, they're radical, right? They're fanatical about their hate of Israel, and to a certain extent, I think Jews as well. They're the ungettables. The fight that we're fighting is for the middle. And I think that each side is trying to encroach in on the other. And statements like this, which again include practical steps that must be taken, are important for that, to educate that middle, about 70% or so. So that's really where the fight is. And so from that standpoint, I think it's important and meaningful to have a statement like this.
Many different individual Jews and Jewish organizations, associations are trying to do something and put up some resistance to this wave that is coming up. And this wave, the way I feel it, is first of all ideological. I mean, it's ideological on the left, it's ideological on the right, and Jews end up being in the middle. And who knows where America is going to go? But I do not see nothing good in the future in this fight between left and right for us Jews.
Right.
What is your attitude?
I think it depends. I mean, I think that I mean when you mentioned the left versus right broadly from an ideological perspective. I do think there's a lot of vulnerable people who can get caught in the crossfire, absolutely. And I do believe that we need to find, the current trajectory does not seem positive. We do need to change the trajectory of this ideological fight, which has, I believe in the past couple of years, has moved beyond rhetoric. We've seen actions in the street, violence in the street. And this is really unfortunate, and I think
violence that in American history never took place before.
Well, we've seen political violence, and we saw it in the 60s, right, during the civil rights movement. But I think that from our perspective in this generation and this young generation, it's a kind of violence that we're unaccustomed to.
Are you saying that in 1960s there was also purposeful attacks by blacks and whites on Jewish individuals or individuals they perceive as Jews with the idea of killing?
Absolutely, yes.
Took place. Huh?
Yes. In the South, absolutely. And this is what's unfortunate about today, where there is some vilification from the African-American community against the Jewish community as being white and part of the white supremacists. Back in the 60s, during the civil rights movement, there were Jews who were killed by people in the South for standing with the Black community.
But they were not killed because they were Jews. They went to Mississippi, if you mean those people, and there was only 2 of them. But here in New Jersey, we had Hebrew, whatever it is, Black Hebrews,
right,
going after Jews to kill them as many as possible.
Right. Yeah. The scale and scope is certainly larger, and we are a different country today than back then. So I do think the kind of violence and the rise of political violence is dangerous and does threaten the Jewish community in particular. So I think it's dangerous as a country. It's something that we need to understand how to diffuse. And we'll see. I think we need strong leadership at all levels of government. And as community leaders, we also need to kind of break through some of the barriers and misconceptions that we have of each other, and come together as all Americans. So.
Dillon, I'm very happy that you have started this fight and that you have won, at least on this level. But and before we conclude, I'd like to ask you, in the process of your work, did you detect particular segments of American society that are willing to stand up for Jews against anti-Semitism and for Israel more than others, and who we can orient ourselves on in order to work with.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick, you know, because the most natural response, and I don't want to take too much time answering this question, but the natural, the kind of the knee-jerk reaction is the evangelical Christians are always with us, right? They're always
Hopefully,
with,
hopefully, although I see that something like 40% of them now turning against Israel.
the younger. I saw that poll, yeah, that the younger. I don't know the accuracy of that poll. I haven't looked into it deeply.
By the way, talking about polls, you know, the poll that came out by this democratic institution about Jews, you know, just
that too.
blew my.
Yeah.
I could not believe, you know, what is it? We're a nation of Mosers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I saw that just a couple days ago too. Very, very disturbing. So to answer your question, I think that I would approach your question a different way, and I would say that rather than trying to align ourselves with those who maybe are naturally with us, what I have found is that we need to educate and outreach to those people who are mainly ignorant of what's going on, right? Who don't understand Israel, and who don't understand the reality of life, of Jewish life in America. And by the way, I think it's important to understand too. I'm guessing you're of former Soviet Union background.
I am a Jew who was born in the Soviet Union. I was exiled in 1974.
So what is important for me, looking at the Jewish community is not monolithic in America. The American Jewish experience is different from the Israeli Jewish experience. It's different from the Persian Jewish experience, who were exiled from Iran. And Israeli Jews, by the way, come here often. They're not exiled from Israel. They're coming here for school or for whatever. You had to leave the former Soviet Union. Your experience is different. And the immigrant Jewish experience in America is different from those Americans who were born here. And I think it's important to highlight the uniqueness of those experiences and to share those experiences with our elected officials so they understand that your experience, Alex, as compared to somebody else's Jewish experience is not the same. And that's what we do at our organization. We represent Israelis, many of whom should be considered people of color, right? Whether they're Yemenite background, Moroccan background, whatever their background is. And they have a certain immigrant experience in America. And so what we do is—
Do you think the Jews from Yemen are considered by people of BLM as people of color?
I don't know what BLM thinks, but what I can
Black
tell—
Lives Matter.
Yeah, no, I understand Black Lives Matter, but I don't know what they think. Frankly, I don't care what they think.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the perception should be there are Jews of color. Jews of color exist, and their experience in America—
Dillon, I am a Jew of color. You see,
I know.
this is white, and this is a little bit red. I do not know about you, but I do not know how color is defined. What kind of a level of pigmentation the person has to have in order to be a colorful person.
I understand, and I hope as a nation we don't get to a point to where we have to start testing pigmentation.
You mean judging people by the color of the skin?
Exactly, right. Yeah,
we already did it,
and they've already done it, right? Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, look, I think that no matter what it is, we all have different experiences in this country, and it's a diverse diversity of experiences. And to reduce the Jewish identity to some sort of, which I don't believe, of course, it's a part of white supremacy, but this narrative is being pushed, right? That Jews are part of white supremacy. The head of the National Teachers Union, by the way, Randy Weingarten, pushed this line back in April, prior to the conflict with Hamas. Totally unacceptable.
She's one of those Jews that actually hates the Jewish people.
It seems that way. And so I think that we need to push back against this kind of rhetoric and do our best to deconstruct it if we can.
What is your feeling? What is your assessment of the rally, No Fear rally, that took place last Sunday, I think on 11th in Washington? What is your feeling about it?
So I think it was great. I think we need to do it again. We need to do it again when Congress is there. And Congress was on recess for that week.
Did anybody from Los Angeles go there?
Yes. I did not go. But I do know people who went. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And they came back. You talked to them?
I have spoken to a few people. They were happy about it. It was a good first run. I think it was a good first run. My suggestion would be to do it again. Do it when Congress is in session, and have a specific agenda that once you're done with your rally, you then go lobby your members of Congress. Go talk to the leadership. Go talk to the White House. Go talk to the leaders of this country to help them understand what issues that we face.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, because I was not sure. There were not a lot of people, like 2,000 or 3,000 people that came there. I mean, by comparison to previous rallies that took place in Washington, it was a very small rally. But I think it's a beginning, and this Melissa Londa did a great job. I'm very thankful to her that she even thought about it and put time and organizing and things like this. And Dillon, I thank you and your organization for doing what you do. And I wish you the very best. Hopefully other Jewish organizations, I do not know, Jewish organizations probably support you all the way, no?
Yeah, I mean, so
there are some organizations, Jewish organizations, that say, no, he is going too far, or whatever it is.
I think our, as an organization, I think our position is pretty in the centrist and pretty middle, in the middle of the road. We've not had any pushback from anybody, no. We try to get along with everybody.
That's nice. You're a nice person, and you try to get along with everybody. I wish I could be like you. And anyway, Dillon, nice talking to you. And I know that you're also doing something on behalf of memory of Jews in Lithuania.
Yes.
As a part of ICAN or separately?
As a part of ICAN, I'll tell you that our board and our members are very serious about the memory of the Holocaust and Holocaust education. And it just so happens that some of our supporters are of Lithuanian descent. And when they informed me and my board about what is going on in Lithuania with regard to erasing Holocaust history, we were incensed. We were incredibly upset. And we decided to take it on ourselves to address this issue, to educate elected officials in America about what's going on there. Because if you have European governments that are erasing history of the Holocaust, this gives license to future dictators to do the same. That they can,
but it's done not only by Lithuania, it's done by Latvia, by Ukraine, by Poland, Hungary, all of these states.
Correct, that is true, but Lithuania is the worst. Lithuania is the one that's, we work with one of our advisory board members is Ephraim Zurov. I don't know if you know him. He's the head of the Israel office in Simon Wiesenthal. And the way he puts it, he says, Lithuania drives the train of Poland and the others. They're the engine that's driving the train, and they're the worst offender. And to me, when you are building monuments of perpetrators who killed thousands of Jews and inverting their history and saying they saved Jews, this is unacceptable. And we need to be aware of this. We have engaged Congress. Congress has reached out to the Lithuanian ambassador and to other leaders there, and we expect a change in the Lithuanian government.
Maybe we'll do a special hour on this issue in Lithuania, because the issue in Lithuania is not only Second World War.
Correct.
During the First World War, Lithuanians took active part in massacring Jews together with Russian army and Cossacks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to do that. We'd be happy to do that.
Anyway, thank you very much, Dillon, for
Thanks, Alex.
stopping by. And I thank you for your good work and wish you the very, very best.
Thank you, sir. I wish you the same. All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.